Hello my fellow gamers and welcome to my first video. In this video I'll be sharing my thoughts and opinions on Star Wars Battlefront 2. So first we're going to look at the graphics. Now the graphics in this game are outstanding. This is probably due to it being a AAA game. The amount of detail in the skins and the maps and the worlds, the colours I've used in each environment that brings them alive, helps you be immersed into the Star Wars universe. I also found that the game is well optimised. I ran my game on a 980 Ti on ultra settings, all maxed out, and I had no problems at all. So next up is the sound. Now, just like the graphics, the sound in this game is top notch. You've got the laser blast, explosions, the sounds of all the different weapons, the hum of the lightsabers, so you know if a force user's near you. Now, the music is nice, and it again helps you feel like you're there and you're in Star Wars, you're in the universe, but it's not memorable. I don't find myself humming it as I'm making myself a cup of tea. Okay, let's move on to gameplay. Now, in this game, I find the gunplay very nice and well thought out, as I would expect from an EA game. The UI is very minimal and doesn't take up your whole screen, so you can actually enjoy the well-crafted environment. The first person mode I find very smooth and I actually enjoy the most, whereas the third person mode I find very clunky. The only advantage to having a third person mode though I find is the fact that you can switch which shoulder you're looking over. So if you need to look around a certain corner, you're not showing all your character's body. You can also change the colour of your reticle in the game options, which helps you keep track of your reticle in them hectic moments. And also the hit markers give you good feedback to when you've actually hit an enemy, how much damage you've done to the enemy, and if you've actually killed that enemy. Now, the Starfighter play is also very nice and thought out, and I do enjoy it. It's nice to be chasing an enemy, trying to line up a perfect shot, and then taking them out. And again, in Starfighter play, you can also go first person or third person. I don't think there's any advantage to going first person or third person in a Starfighter, as all the enemies seem to be tagged with a diamond, a red diamond, so you can't really miss them. Let's have a look at the player versus environment part of the game. There are two PvE modes in the game. That's the campaign and an arcade mode. Now the campaign only has 3 difficulty settings. It has the explorer, soldier and special forces. Now when I was playing through it, I went to special forces as to give myself a challenge. I found the story to be very bland and predictable, and it feels like they've used well-known Star Wars characters and locations to try and keep the player engaged in the story instead of actually providing a good gripping story. Also, the character development is very limited and predictable throughout the whole story, and jumping from character to character every other mission hindered the flow of the story. I would rather stayed with the main character throughout the story and seeing the story from their eyes. I end up losing interest in the story after about 2 hours of playing, and then just end up going from mission to mission to mission just to get it over with. Now I find the AI in this game very dumb. Now don't get me wrong, they get in cover, but then they just keep popping their head out. It makes me feel like you're playing whack-a-mole. Or they just stand there in the open and start shooting at you. They don't try and flank, and they only throw the odd grenade here and there, which meant the gameplay got very boring very fast. Now, it took me less than 5 hours on the hardest difficulty to complete the campaign. Therefore, I feel it is really short and way too easy. Now, the second PvE mode is the arcade mode. Now, the arcade mode is just the PvP maps, but instead of killing players, you're killing AI bots. Now, there's 3 reasons why you would play this mode, I feel. 1, you're not into PvP. 2, you've unlocked a new weapon in PvP and you want to get a feel for it. 3, you want to learn the maps. Other than that, I feel that the arcade mode is useless. Now, let's move on to the part of the game that most people buy the game for, which is the PvP. Now, when you go into the PvP, there are actually multiple PvP modes. Now the main one seems to be Galactic Assault, which is an objective-based mode for up to 40 players. And they also do have a small version of that called Strike, which is 16 players. The next mode they have is the Starfighter Assault mode, which is for up to 24 players, which is also an objective-based mode, but just for starfighters. They have Heroes versus Villains, which is a character fight mode where you get to play your favourite characters. And they also have a close quarter mode called Blast, which is for up to 20 players. Now, when you go into a PvP mode, other than the Starfighter PvP mode, you'll be prompted to choose from 4 classes. The classes that are available are the Assault, the Heavy, the Officer, and the Specialist. The Assault is your standard soldier. The Heavy is just like a standard soldier but with a big heavy weapon. The Officer is a healer / buffer class, and the Specialist is the sniper / recon class. Now, as you play through the match, you will obtain battle points. These battle points can be spent on spawning in as a special Star Wars character, and these characters that are available depend on what map you're playing at the time. So when you enter a Starfighter PvP match, there will be 3 classes for you to choose from. You have the Fighter, the Interceptor, and the Bomber. Now, the Fighter just seems to be your standard Starfighter. The Interceptor seems to be a lot faster and more fragile, and the Bomber seems to be the opposite to the Interceptor, where it seems to be a lot slower but a lot more durable. Just like the other PvP modes, as you go through the match, you'll obtain battle points, which then can be used again to spend on spawning as a special character. Now, I feel that this game does not offer skill-based PvP, as I feel that the ability cards play such a big factor in the actual PvP of the game. I find that the PvP is more real money transactions, good luck, and grind based, meaning that someone who spent a lot of real world money either buying the Trooper Deluxe Edition or doing real world money transactions in game, or who's got really good luck, or who just has the time to grind to get the materials to get the better cards, will be doing a lot better than someone who is at the exact same skill level but does not have the cards, who has only bought the standard edition. And I feel that that ruins the PvP enjoyment overall. Now, I feel there are certain abilities that shouldn't be in this game due to what they provide. The first one being the Assault's Scan Dart, and the second being the Specialist Thermal Binoculars. Now, I feel that both of these are wall hacks and then shouldn't be in the game. The Assault Scan Dart, if you fight in an area, it lights up all the enemies with a red outline, giving you the ability to see them through walls. The Specialist Thermal Goggles show all the enemies that they are looking at as a bright green colour. It doesn't matter if they're in cover or not, they can see through cover. Therefore, I feel that both of these are wall hacks and they have no place in any PvP game. Now, I don't feel that the developers knew if they were making a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter, as both are in-game. Now, this is fine in a player versus environment mode, as you can choose depending on the player style that you want to have, and you're not hindering anyone. But in a player versus player mode, I find this very unbalanced and unfair, as I find a third-person mode gives the player an advantage, as they can see around corners whilst they're keeping their body in cover, plus they have more awareness of their surroundings. Now, if they did keep it all first person and only made it third person when you use certain abilities or when you're playing certain characters, then I would be fine with that. But the fact you can switch and choose as you please, to me, is just unbalanced. I found that the PvP maps got very boring fast, as you didn't have many side lanes you could take to try and flank the enemy or to try new tactics. I also found that the map seemed to funnel you in a certain direction, as there was always this ledge or this obstacle that you couldn't get over, which I found give you less options, which is not something you want in a PvP game. The nice thing about the maps though, especially if you're playing Galactic Assault, is you normally start off in like a big open area where you have an objective to meet, and then by the end of the match you're normally in the opposite, you're normally in a very close combat kind of area. Makes you change your play style, which is also nice because people are not just doing the same thing on every single map. My opinion on Star Wars Battlefront 2 is that if you are a die-hard Star Wars fan and you're just looking for some casual play versus environment, then I would suggest that you wait for this game to be on sale due to the subpar quality and length of the campaign. It's just not worth full price. Now, if you're looking for a good player versus player game, well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find it here. The PvP is overshadowed by loot crates and real world money transactions, which have led to the PvP aspects of the game being unbalanced and just not fun. Therefore, I would stay away from the game, as there are a lot of other games that provide a more enjoyable player versus player experience. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you could please like, subscribe and share with your friends. And I'll see you soon in my next video.